Like my brother, I will not be brief. Good afternoon, everyone. After I met with Rabbi Kiefer yesterday, while driving back to Miami, I asked myself a question. What could I possibly say about someone who gave me life? My dad was a lot of things to so many people that he touched in one way or another in his 92 plus years of age. When we look back on his life, we can come to the conclusion that everything he did it to the best of his ability with love and passion. Dad had to go to work at a very young age to help his family through the Great Depression. He graduated from chiropractic college in 1950, only to find out that he couldn't practice it in his home state of Massachusetts, because Massachusetts didn't get licensed for chiropractic until 1965, the second to last state in the country to do so. While other chiropractors went to places like New Hampshire and New York to practice, Dad was married to Mom, and he had a young child, my brother Stuart. They had very little money, and they couldn't just pick up and move. So he took the civil service test and became a mailman for over 25 years. Not only was he a mailman, but he was the best mailman. And how do I know that? Well, I was lucky enough to help him deliver the mail at a young age, and I saw that everyone on his route in Brookline, Massachusetts, except the ones with large dogs, loved him very much. He treated everyone like they were his parents with love and respect. Every Christmas season, Dad was given presents from more people on his route than I could count, because our house was always filled with hundreds of gift-wrapped bottles of liquor with those ribbon little bonbons on top of them that were never opened because none of us drank liquor. After Dad married my mom in 1944, he immediately went into the Army to serve in World War II, the big one. Not only was he a great soldier, he told us of a story when he was in France and his troop had to walk over 20 miles one day in freezing ice and cold weather, only to stop on the side of a small mountain where they had to dig foxholes for themselves to sleep that night. Well, my dad dug his, and after he was finished, one of the men in his troop asked my dad for his foxhole because he was too exhausted to dig one. Well, being the sergeant of his company and a good guy, my dad complied and gave up his foxhole, and my dad dug another foxhole nearby. I guess God was watching over my dad, because unfortunately the soldier who slept in my dad's original foxhole died that night from an enemy's bomb shell hitting his foxhole. I guess God had a master plan for my dad. Dad, as my brother mentioned, loved the Jewish war veterans and rose to the office of commander in the state of Massachusetts. The Jewish war veterans was essentially involved with charity projects, and one of my fondest memories was when my dad was commander and we visited and fed men meals around the holiday times at the Soldiers' Home in Chelsea, Massachusetts, to those who had no family to speak of. Dad taught me about helping others at an early age. In the 70s, after my dad retired and he and my mom moved to Royal Palm Beach, Florida, his next passion was to find land and build a temple, because a small group that found each other before Facebook existed were tired of having Jewish Sabbath and holiday services at the local Lions Club. Dad and Mom and 4 other families got together and built themselves Temple Bet Zion, where Rabbi Kiefer now resides at for several years, and the temple is very lucky to have him. My dad was very fond of Rabbi Kiefer's dad, who was also a rabbi, and his mom. Dad was the first president of the temple and instituted projects like teaching people how to worship, read Hebrew, raise funds for the temple, and taught bar mitzvah classes, as well as to build the membership. He was involved with Temple Bet Zion since its inception in 1982, till just 4 years ago when his health started to fail, and we moved him closer to my home in Miami. Yes, Mom, it was my fault. It won't surprise you that Dad wanted anyone that wanted to donate something in his name to go to Temple Bet Zion of Royal Palm Beach. My dad's biggest passion was his family. His parents, his sisters, his numerous aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins, me, my brother Stuart, and his children, Nicole and Peter, Nicole's husband David, and their son, Dad's great-grandson Vincent, and my brother David, who died at a very young age of cancer, who we miss dearly, and of course, all of my wives, especially my wife, Rebecca. He also had passion for all his kids' families, many of whom are here today. My dad loved it when one of my friends would call the house and say, "Hi, Mr. Rosenthal, how are you?" before asking for me or my brothers. Not only was my dad a great father and friend to me, as well as to anyone he ever met, he was my best man at my first wedding, but he wouldn't do it for weddings 2 and 3, because he told me to honor my other good friends. When I married Rebecca 5 years ago, Dad was confined to a wheelchair, but 5 minutes before we started the procession, he told my mom and me that he wanted to walk down the aisle. And after we rolled him down the ramp, he got up, and my mom and I walked him all the way to the front. I was so proud of him that he made me cry before Rebecca walked down the aisle. After Dad and Mom moved into the Miami Jewish nursing home 4 years ago, he immediately got involved with a temple on site and was giving bar mitzvah lessons and helping his fellow senior citizens how to read Hebrew. He was an avid temple goer, and even after the last year or so, Dad was unable to hold his own prayer book, as it was a little heavy for him. He knew the whole book by heart, especially during the high holidays. I knew that because I was sitting next to him. Dad's favorite TV show was Jeopardy because he knew most of the answers, and he also loved playing bingo no matter where it was being played on campus almost every day of the week. But Sunday was his favorite bingo day because he got me involved for the last 3 years to call the bingo in my mother's building, and he thought he had an edge with me calling. He got a big kick out of winning because he would let my mother yell bingo even when he won, and I made sure he was paid $5,000 when he was supposed to be paid only 50 cents. The entire nursing home is already missing my dad with his motorized scooter. My other personal fond memory was last year in December. Dad and I realized it was the 40th anniversary for me and his 79th anniversary of his bar mitzvah. Even though Dad's was in June, around his birthday time, and mine in December, the portion that was read out of the Torah was the same portion. So last December, Dad and I read our bar mitzvah prayers together to a packed crowd at the synagogue at the nursing home, witnessed by Stuart and his kids, Mom, and my wife. It had to go down as one of the biggest days of my life. And of course, my mom, Edith, who was everything to my dad. His whole life was my mom, and I mean everything. They were in love from day one. If you taught me anything about love, it's not that you not only show your love, but you also tell that special someone you love them every day of your life. 66 years together is pretty amazing, especially since I'm working on 66 months. I will miss you, Dad. We will miss you. We will all miss you for the rest of our lives. I love you.